Justin Bieber is a Pisces sun, Libra moon, and Scorpio rising. I know you guys saw those pictures of him, so let's check in on his Saturn return. So in looking at Justin's chart, he has Saturn, Sun, and Venus in Pisces. So in his Saturn return, part of the themes that are going to come up is consistency in energetic hygiene, his sense of self and his ego, along with his relationship, making peace with a lot of relationships in his life. So the way that I see it as an astrologer is he has had to work through 3 major hits. The first one is going to be the realization of an old pattern or the damage of his past. That's the Saturn return. That was what hit first for him in his birth chart. So that would have been coming to terms with, oh my gosh, this one thing really affected and impacted me. Okay. Or kind of seeing like the monster or the severity of it. And this 100% could also be facing the substance abuse and anything that he uses or does to check out, because Pisces sign is either surrendering to the pain or you vice out of it. So it's the person's responsibility to surrender, heal, and come back to God or check out of it. Because I'm doing my makeup, I can't look at the ephemeris and give you exact dates of when all this happened. But after Saturn returned, Saturn was over his Saturn went over his sun. So it became a shocker or revelation of, oh my God, all these things that I've gone through have affected myself, my persona, my confidence, my ego. I'm kind of losing my sense of identity because of said experiences. He could have also been working through, wow, I didn't realize or I underestimated the influence that people have had in my life, or the influence that my sense of self and the persona I've been playing has had on my soul. So now Justin is at the last stretch of his Saturn return, which is Saturn going over his Venus, which will ask him to address and deal with the people in his life, okay? That's kind of a big one because we know that he's married. So that marriage is under construction, is what I would call it. We're redefining the boundaries in this relationship. And this is also all relationships leading up to this, not just his current marriage, but it would be all relationships, romantic and professional. What's interesting here is that when Saturn goes over Venus for a man, you do often look at pregnancy and a child coming in, because that's just how it reads for men. So it makes sense to me that he would have to adjust his marriage to now being a father and what that is requiring of him, and also new boundaries with his wife. That energy has actually not peaked, so we haven't seen the worst of it, or the peak of the karma crisis is what I call it. I did check my ephemeris. It's going to peak at the end of February and at the beginning of March. So whether this becomes public or not, I'm not sure. We might just hear, though, that there is serious trouble in paradise, because I know those rumors have already been out there. They haven't yet peaked. So when I'm doing my work and reading for people, I would categorize this as a possible divorce, 100%, a bajillion percent. Saturn is coming over your Venus and you're married. This is a rocky time, and you may be potentially headed to divorce if you don't figure out the boundaries that both people need and the expectations that both people are now needing. A little bit of tea. I am also looking at a move. And so I wouldn't be surprised if part of what comes up in February is an announcement that Justin Bieber is moving, or they're relocating together, or they're buying a second home. Like, that all makes sense to me. I also want to mention that I have a lot of faith for them. I know that they're celebrities. So I almost like it's I have to balance how I read for them. But you know, in a normal relationship, I wouldn't be too concerned about all of this, because the North Node is in Pisces, so there's a lot of spiritual help and support. They have a lot of energetic guidance, you can say. But for this case, I think that, you know, if I could tell Justin Bieber something, is like, you're almost done. You're almost there. If you can manage through, I don't know what I did there. If you can manage through, this is like February, April is the last hit of this major Saturn return. If he can get himself, he wouldn't do good with therapy. He needs to express it in art, but he has so much trauma in his art. If I was his astrologer, I would suggest to him to get into painting and things that arts that he hasn't yet done. So not music, but rather painting or drawing or something like this would be very helpful for him and his healing journey. And then he does also have to express all the trauma that he went through at the hands of people. Saturn over Venus is all people, not just his relationships. So like, I would encourage him, like if this was my son, I would encourage him to do dark art, like get it all out. You know, what did people do to you, and how have you felt like you were disadvantaged? Like, do the art, dark art around it. We're not judging you. It's a safer venue than doing, you know, vices, drugs, and all that stuff. So because of his posture and stature, I do think that he's having a hard time. Obviously, like, he's so frail. I do feel so bad for him, but he's almost done. And I would also say that in April, it could go either way. It could swing either way, to where he gets remarried, or he like revamps his marriage in some way because of that North Node meeting with his Saturn. It could look like a wedding, revowing your wedding vows. You know, and I also see him potentially moving in with another woman. That could also come up too. That would be so scandalous, Justin Bieber. But by the looks of it, he's so frail. It looks like a person who's using, and that's so much harder to solve. Like long term, it's harder to solve these kind of issues because they're so deeply ingrained and there's so much pain that's been stuffed down. So again, if he could get through just till April, he would be totally fine, totally jazzed through. He would survive his Saturn return. Another thing I would advise for him, because he does have the progressed moon in Sagittarius in his first house, I would kind of go into, this is controversial, but brotherhoods or groups of men that can help him. The reason I say this is because I do see him vulnerable to joining new cults and things like that. So because he's vulnerable to that, I would have him like anchor himself with men and or communities. Who knows what this is, or like his own family, the males in his world, to foster a sense of masculine security, so he doesn't fall into anything else that's kind of crazy. Because I do see that potential. That's karma. Saturn in Pisces is repeating the karma, so you're gonna fall back into, if you're not careful, you're gonna fall back into the thing that caused you the most hardships and grief. And his Saturn is in the third house, so his mind, genuinely, Justin Bieber's mind, is so easily influenced and impressionable that should be handled with care. You know, this is what I have for you guys, even though I'm not done with my makeup, but that's all I have for Justin Bieber. Let me know if it was helpful. And if you want to know something else, I'm rooting for him though.